Hello everyone, welcome back to PSA Podcast episode 2. Today we're delighted to have with us local Valley Rangers manager Darryl Parke. Darryl, you're very welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for inviting me, Matthew.
And we'll kick things off by probably the most popular question in football at the minute. How have you been coping with the whole thing?
Strange. Once we got up and going again, we're coping okay. You get into a wee football bubble where you don't really see everything outside affecting it. As long as you can play your games, you can train, you think that's the way it's going to be, although it was always in your back of your mind, could it possibly come to us that we'll get halted again? And then lo and behold, 2 weeks ago we were halted. So that side of it's strange now that you're sitting in limbo, that you're hoping to get up and going again on the 14th of November, but you just have to play it by ear and see how it goes. But even aside from that, even watching football on TV, I don't know what you think, but without fans in the stadium, it's a bit strange.
Yeah, it's totally different. And we was actually saying there before that, you know, there's no such thing as a home advantage really. It's just seems to be like a normal match, and there's quite a lot of goals from both sides, and there's no clean sheets, and there's lots of strange things happening in matches. So from an entertainment point of view, it's very good, but obviously it doesn't beat the supporters and the fans in the stadium.
Still strange. And even you'll see more now, well, I seem to be noticing more, there's teams down in tools as such, you're getting strange scores here, there and everywhere. But no, it's not the same, and hopefully we can get back to some sort of normality sooner rather than later. But it does add to the spectacle, and it has been definitely.
And then from your own squad point of view, have you been giving the players anything to do over lockdown, or have you just been letting them tear away? Or
well, we've only been 1 week without training, so the announcement came in the middle, almost 2 weeks ago now, but we were still able to train up until lockdown went in, so we cut training last week. We asked them to do bits and pieces, but we weren't going to monitor that too closely. But hopefully, as we move through the weeks, we're able to move through the schedule a wee bit more and get people up to speed, because I don't know what way the governing bodies here are going to introduce it again. I've seen games being scheduled for the 14th of November. 14th of November is 4 weeks and 1 day since lockdown went in, so it's pretty much just telling teams that you're not allowed to train for 4 weeks,
but you have to play a match.
Yeah, you're not allowed physical contact training for 4 weeks, but then the day after lockdown's lifted, away you go and play a game, which will be strange, and it's potentially their way of dealing with it too, because they don't know when this is going to happen again, and they're looking to get fixtures in.
Yeah.
And no, it's a strange time for everyone. It's unprecedented times for all. So I don't envy the governing bodies,
the decision makers.
No, and that's across the board too. You know, it's hard. It's hard for them all. So I'm not saying they're guessing, but there's maybe an educated guess behind it.
Yeah. So I want to take you back a few years to you've decided to quit playing, and what took you into coaching, what took you into management, why did you decide to go down that route? What was it that kind of made it attractive to you?
Well, I tried to do both for a while. Try being the optimum word for playing, but it was tough to do both. It's tough to split trying to motivate yourself to play and to give everything to those that you're coaching to. When I started, really fell into it by chance. It was probably something that I always in the back of my head thought that I would do. I went and watched, I think it was an under-14s final, and Richard Bailey would have been helping with them, your PSA goalkeeping coach. And their manager was leaving. It was well known that the manager of that team was leaving at the end of the season, so they talked about it for a wee while, and I sort of said I would come in and help them in some way, shape or form, because I seen that there was was a team there that I liked. I thought some of the players had a lot of potential, and could be worked with, and I thought it would be a shame if, for whatever reason, they weren't given the support that they could be given. Not saying that I was that support at that stage, but if there was nobody to take them, that they potentially could have been left without football, or not having somebody to take it with the time that they could commit to try and push them on. So I took it from there, and from the start I enjoyed it. Enjoyed it maybe not too much, but it sort of took over from playing quite quickly, that you just wanted to see other players develop and reach their potential, and how could they improve their game, and players that were maybe of a lesser ability. At the start we were playing in the Caribbean League, which the team were quite comfortable in, so it was then there was players that were of a lesser ability to the better players in the team. It was a team of very mixed ability, and quite a wide age range too, because there's 3 years between the next youngest team, so you were giving younger players a chance to see if you could get them up the curve any. And no, I enjoyed it from that first opportunity, and it gripped me then that I wanted to push on, and not even for myself, but to give players opportunity, players that you grew a wee affinity with, that you seen that they had something, and you wanted to push them up through the system to see how far they could get and how far they could push themselves, really.
And is there any of them players still playing at the minute?
Yeah, they're still. Do I have to name names, or can I?
No, you don't have to know.
No, there's quite a lot of them players still playing in some shape or form, but that's what it's about too. It's not everybody's going to reach the top, and when I say the top, I mean not everybody's going to reach the top of their club, or even the top of the level that they want to play at. But it's all about the players getting out of it what they want to get out of it.
It's good to see players that you've worked with still remaining in the game.
Yeah.
That you've given that chance to at the start, or maybe wouldn't have got that chance if you hadn't stepped into that position or whatever, that they're still in the game, whatever level it's at, because at the end of the day, it's about playing to enjoy the game. Like,
yeah, one person's Wembley can be the Cardinal Road, and the other person's can be Windsor Park or beyond. It's each to their own, and especially in these times, you can see how important it is to people to get out and to have goals to attach themselves to. But no, it is encouraging to see players come through, and to look back at players that have come through and how they've developed over the years, and they've stayed within the game, as you say.
So that was under 14, so you made the step up then, and when did you make the step into senior football then?
At that stage I was involved part-time. When I say part-time, I mean like I would have been helping training really young kids, like at that stage they've been under 6s, under 7s with Rodney McBride, just in the local Bracken Centre, but I had nothing else really. Just for a short period, I had nothing else really to attach myself to. But I didn't know what I wanted to do, if I wanted to go the whole way up through with a team, or if I wanted to make the step into senior football, or if there even was an opportunity to make the step into senior football, and how that would look, because there is a step, especially when I did take it, there would have been still players older than me, more experienced than me, and probably seen more of the game than me. I didn't know if that was a step that I wanted to make, or if it was the right time to make that step, or alternatively I didn't know if I had the patience after being parachuted in under 14s to go the whole way back down and go the whole way back up through. And I didn't want to go halfway up through either, if you know what I mean. And after a year or two think, oh, this isn't for me. After having experience with older players who you're able to do a wee bit more with in terms of your coaching, more advanced coaching, whereas the younger age group, it really is, especially at 6, 7s, it's really just letting them play and get on with it. But the opportunity came around to take the Valley Rangers reserve side. So after a bit of deliberation, I put my name forward to that and got it and moved forward with that. And
you were very successful in that position as well.
Yeah, we were quite successful. With a good squad of players, and again, part of the reason for taking that and the sway till putting my name forward for that was really that I seen players coming through with the 18s and younger that I thought had the potential to step up, and I had the experience working with them and knew their abilities, knew what they needed to do, and I thought, if I take this, I can give them the platform to go and do what they can do. And to be fair to them, it was them that were successful. It wasn't me as such. It was them that went out and done the business, whether it be whatever trophies they won. But that's what you get out of it, that you give people a platform and that you see their hard work bring some fruits out of it. And no, it's great to be involved in it, and it's something that you to focus your attention on, and something that you get a buzz out of it. It's hard to explain exactly what it
takes
what
over
it
your whole
is.
life.
Oh, it does, yeah.
At any level.
You know that as well as anybody. But it's great to be involved in it. And the down times now isn't too bad because it's only been a week off, but in March and April, whenever you didn't see an end in sight, it was strange, and it was
like you realise how much it means to people when you don't have it. Yeah,
it's strange to see how the other half of the world put their Saturdays in too.
So we're now on to, you've done really well with the seconds, you've now got the first team job. As a manager or a coach, whatever you describe yourself as, what would you say your kind of style is? Everybody goes on nowadays about styles and philosophies and all these words, but if I was to walk in off the street and watch the Valley play, what would be the 2 or 3 key things that you like your teams to play, the way to play, or what your teams do, and even yourself, what kind of style would you say you as a manager are?
First and foremost, I think it's amateur football in particular. It's very based on the players that you have at your disposal and the players that want to play for your club. You can have all the best ideas in the world and all the great philosophies, and you can base yourself on Guardiola, Klopp, whoever else you want to base yourself on, but you have to work with the players that you have and the strengths that they have, and you've got to find a way to play to get their strengths out of them. In terms of how Valley play at the moment, or how
without giving too much away for people that might be listening from in and around our same league.
No, look, we'll look to get the ball down and we'll look to play. We have a big 3G pitch there that you train on, you play on, your surface is consistent. We want the boys to have control of the game. We want them to use the strengths that we have to get it down and to play, because Mourne has produced great footballers over the years, and sometimes maybe as an area we don't have the confidence in ourselves to put ourselves in that pedestal alongside other teams or other players of a similar level. But where the Valley are at now in terms of playing in Intermediate A, 4th tier in the country, you just have to give the players the platform to go and express themselves. We have worked since Matthew and myself and Davy McKee have come in. We have worked on looking to play from the back and looking to control the game where possible, but we'll always emphasise that it's horses for courses. There's going to be times where you can't do that. There's going to be times where you have to find a way to win a game, and it's a learning experience for me too, because it's a learning experience from when do you encourage them to play and keep playing, and when do you encourage them to play in certain areas, and that's always going to be a learning experience. Anybody that tells you they know everything about football, they know nothing, because each and every day you go into it, and each and every weekend that passes that you watch something, you see something new, you hear something new, you hear somebody else's perspective, and in my opinion there's no right or wrong perspective.
Yeah.
It's a game of
it's
opinions.
a game of opinions, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a game of applying those strengths that you have, and even the past 10 years you'll see the development of, like, I'll always go back to games that people will see in the TV all the time, but as time has went on, the past 10 years we've went from tiki-taka without a centre forward, and now it's a much more physical game in terms of a lot of teams are looking for runners all over the pitch. Just have to look at the different styles throughout Europe and the picks of the teams and how that develops year on year. And the thing about it is, nobody's reinventing the wheel, but somebody's always going to come up with a way of working out your strengths and turning them into their advantage and finding a way to counteract that. And that's really what your football philosophy has to be. You have to move with the times. Yes, I would be a wee bit of a control freak in terms of football, that I want to have control of the game, but there's many different ways to control a game. Watch Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid, they control the game expertly without a ball. And then the likes of Guardiola, it's just going to be possession is key, and they need the ball to control it. But in terms of the Valley, we look to control the game with the ball, but there has been times, and this season I would say more than last, we've had to emphasise. I know we're only started. We've emphasised on a number of different occasions that we don't have to have the ball, boys. We don't have to panic when we don't have it. We'll have to trust what we have, and if we don't have it for periods, we've got to keep ourselves right. But when we do have it, we've got to make best use of that, whatever the best use of that is on that particular day. Because yes, your own team is what you're looking for, but you've got to play your opponents too, in terms of if you spot a weakness, you've got to capitalise on that, whatever it may be, because you don't get anywhere from playing pretty football every week and can't beat it 2 or 3-0 or whatever it is. So you've got to be pragmatic, and you've got to find a way to win games.
So you've mentioned our managers like have different styles and different philosophies and whatever else. Is there anybody since you've started your coaching career that you've kind of said, well, I'm going to maybe listen to his interviews, or I'm going to follow him, or see kind of find bits of his training or things like that?
Other than the PSA coaches?
You don't have to mention them though. I know for myself, there's certain managers that I would listen to their press conferences every week without fail. I would listen to whatever they say in the media. I would watch them. I would listen to how they speak, just to pick up wee different ideas. Is there anybody in particular?
Since Bielsa's took over at Leeds, close to my own heart. Man is a genius, so he is.
I thought we couldn't get through the podcast without mentioning Leeds.
No, anybody that has a distinctive style, I would have an interest in. I like to watch teams that have a style, that have an identity about them as such, and they're not just a wee bit of this and a wee bit of that. Guardiola's the obvious one. His Barcelona team, to me, still, well, is and will be hard to beat in terms of being the best team that I've ever seen anyway in my lifetime. And when he came to the Premier League, you can see everything nowadays in terms of, you can watch your La Liga, you can watch wherever he is. You can watch your Bundesliga when he was at Munich, but whenever he came to the Premier League, it just brought it a wee bit closer to home, and there's just that wee bit more coverage of it, and it's closer to you each and every day, and it's good to see how people like that adapt to your away to Stoke on a cold Tuesday night. And no, there's as I say, anybody with a real identity. Guardiola have been the one over the past 15 years that he's not in it 15 years, 10 years, that you would look to, I would see as the trailblazer. But there are obviously others who have got on top of him at times. And as I say, since Bielsa's came to Leeds, the change that he's made in a mid-table championship team from this is a man that's, people would say Guardiola looks to, Pochettino looks to, and he bases a lot of it on things that you would think modern coaches wouldn't work on. Like, he would do a lot of his work without the ball. He would do a lot of his tactics work very slowly, very methodical, moving players in terms of inches, feet, exactly where they should be as a game develops. But as I said before, it's horses for courses. It's different people have their different methods, and it's just interesting to see how people use them methods and develop them methods. And from the standpoint where we're at, we're not going to see what all them methods are, but just the smallest of insight into them is interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Yep.
But but anybody that has that identity certainly piques me interest. They do.
Very good. So it's very interesting to see, how even local managers kind of shape their team and because obviously we're not playing at a massive level with no resources, with no kind of 2 nights a week training. That's it. It's interesting to see what you can really get out of your team in terms of a style of play or whatever. And I always find it interesting listening to managers and trying to pick up wee bits of detail. Oh, maybe try that. I'd like to put that into my game. I'd like to try this. So yeah,
who would your top three be?
My top three,
the past 10 years or so.
I like because I've been in reserve and youth football for quite a while. I tried to would follow. I followed Graham Murty from Rangers under 23s just to see it from a youth development point of view and see what after pre-match or post-match interviews, what way he approached him in terms of he might have got beat, but he was never downbeat because so many players played well, or this fella's so close to the first team, this fella's progressing from the under 18s into the 23s. And it was interesting to see from that point of view how he kind of went from game to game, because results never overly mattered that much. It was all about the development of the person and the development of the player. And then I've took a big interest in Brendan Rodgers recently because of, obviously he's from Northern Ireland.
He came through the youth development side.
Yes,
of that too.
He came through kind of something similar to what I've been through as well, and he's obviously at the top of the game now, and just the normal ones, your Guardiolas, your Klopps, you're always listening in to see what they're saying, watching their interviews, listening to their press conferences, just to see, can you pick up something new, something different, and just try and bring it into your game, although it's going to be on a totally different level, but just try and improve and try and pick up information every week on different wee parts of the game. But there's so much, as you say, there's so much out there, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just whatever way you like yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the start of your second season as the Valley first team manager. What are your short-term and long-term goals for the club as a whole?
Well, short-term, long-term sort of feeds into one. You always just want to keep developing. We're not a club where we put massive aspirations on people to say, you do this, and if you don't do this, you'll be out the door. It's a community-based club. It's players are given the opportunity and coaching staff are given the opportunity too. But within that, you always want to be developing, you always want to be moving forward. You can't be standing still, because if you stand still, you'll move back. So it's just constantly about developing the club, whether it be on the field, off the field, and keep moving forward. As I've touched on earlier, Mourne has had great footballers over the years, and they maybe haven't had the platform to go and show what they can do at a level more suitable to their ability. But I think where the Valley are at now, we're starting to get closer to that standard. As I said, the fourth tier of football in the country. Could you go another one? Well, that's maybe a long-term ambition of the club. It's something that would be great for the area, something that, in my own personal opinion, has been missing from this area for quite a while. Like, Warren Point's our closest, but Warren Point have only got into the league structure relatively recently too. And other than that, you've Newry and you've Banbridge, but they would be quite a distance away. So there's a whole wee pocket of the country here that's never tasted league football as such. And it would be a massive achievement to do it, and it would be definitely wouldn't be something that you could just do overnight, especially with the quality in intermediate A. But that's where the club development comes on. You keep building on your blocks, you keep making the club bigger, better every year. You're building on something for the future, and you're giving kids an opportunity that it might not be this generation, but if the foundations are in place, is it the next generation? So it's not something that as a club the Valley put a time scale on, and it's not something that you'll ever die by, but it would be something to me that would be nice for the area, that at some stage they could have league representation in whatever shape or form that comes in.
Yeah.
But short term, since we started the season, we've really said let's go week by week, because while you're in a football bubble and you want to keep going and you don't see yourself stopping for anything really, it always was in your back of your head, if things get worse in terms of COVID, do the restrictions
could be
affect
taken away
us?
from you straight away, as it is.
We just, if anybody looks at our league table at the minute, it's very, very tight in terms of teams from top to bottom, and I think that maybe plays out in the way that a lot of people have approached the season, that they're just glad to get back out there, and they're looking forward to their game on a Saturday, and there's nothing between the teams. The results are hard to judge, and I would challenge anybody to get a full set of league results right by predicting them before the game takes place. But that's what you want to be in. To me, that's what you want to be in. I always found it difficult if you had 2 leagues within a league or 3 leagues within a league where you teams where there was an expectation that you went and you beat them comfortably, and there was other teams that there was an expectation that you went and you couldn't lay a glove on them. To me, that doesn't create a good competitive environment, but I think at the minute where intermediate A is, there is a good competitive environment. Like, we've played a lot of teams across the spectrum. I know the table doesn't mean a lot at the minute, but a lot of teams across the spectrum from top to bottom as the table sits, and I don't think we've had an easy game really, but at the same time I don't think we've sat back and looked at a team afterwards and said, oh, you're never getting near them. I think it's been each and every week you've had to go out and earn what you've got, and if you aren't at it, you're going to be punished. And to me, that drives players on too. That's what players should want. Not all the time what they do want. They maybe do want a wee comfort break, and they want the ego massaged a wee bit. But to become a better player, you've got to push yourself, and pushing yourself to the limits each and every week, whether that be in your training on a Tuesday, Thursday, whatever night it may be, so that you know that you have to be right at it on a Saturday, and then on a Saturday you know you have to turn up, and you can't be coming unprepared or just rocking in the Saturday after not turning up on a Tuesday, Thursday. That's where you want your players to be. You want them to be tuned in. You want them to be trying to get the most out of themselves, whatever that is. It is, but you want to see players try and thrive in a competitive environment.
And finally, what is the 3 main qualities that your players must have to succeed in a team managed by yourself?
That was a wee bit of a curveball thrown at the end there.
They put you on the spot or anything?
3 qualities. Well, first of all, I'm going to sit on the fence here. First of all, they have to have a want to be there. It's not a quality in terms of a footballing ability, but especially at the level in terms of amateur football that you're at, you're not there for any other reason other than your own enjoyment to get out of it, what you want to get out of it. So if you don't want to be there, then it would be a question of what are you really getting out of it. So that to me, as I've touched on before, the players are paramount. The players are the most important thing in any team, and their development is the most important thing. As coaches, to me, coaches, managers, whatever you want to call it, we're just enablers in terms of create the platform that they can go and push themselves as far as they possibly can. So they've got to want to be there. They've got to fit into a group. So a football team can be quite a tight environment if you get the right bunch of players around you. So you need to have the right characters in there. You need to have people that are happy to get on with each other, and whatever happens on a Saturday or whatever happens on a Tuesday, Thursday, if there's a difference in opinion, that we can throw it under the carpet and away we go again. So it ties in with wanting to be there, but to me, to harness a good dressing room, you need a group of lads that, or ladies, sorry. Discriminating here, that are willing to get on and are willing to let bygones be bygones, and let people's flaws, whether that be a performance flaw or a temper flaw or whatever it is, just let them be and understand them for being them. And football is a great tool for socialising. Probably something I haven't touched on yet, but it's like maybe not for the kids. When you're in school, you're seeing everybody. Well, if your teammates are in your school, you're seeing everybody each and every day of the week and whatnot. But then once you get to the senior game, you're probably only seeing the majority of your players when you're training or in your match, and that can be a lot of people's major social activity. So it's important that you enjoy it and you get on with the people that you're there with. Have I covered 3 yet? No?
I think so. And the 3 things, as you said before, none of them are really football related. It's all to do with people and enjoyment and getting on well, and really football ability hasn't really been touched, and that's shows that the most important thing is the people in the club.
Yeah,
it's not your ability, or yes, your ability is going to take you far in the game, but your attitude, your want to be there, your work rate, your determination, your timekeeping, things like that other people don't have control of. It's what you control yourself, and them things are most important.
Yeah, no, ability in terms of football and ability, you'll go right to the top of the game, and you'll see teams like Liverpool champions last year, now need another centre half because Van Dijk's out injured. Football and ability, no matter what level you're at, most teams will always say I need 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, and then we would be some team. And that spans the whole way down through the game. It's the culture of football. Once you get something, you want a wee bit more. Nobody's ever satisfied, and that is part of football. And it's a positive and a negative. It's a drive and ambition. I want to push yourself even further. But in terms of coaching players and getting the most out of players, sometimes I feel that's a downfall to the game, that we always look for the shiny new thing that's elsewhere rather than looking at what, as coaches, what your own team have and what more you could get out of them. And same for players, if they look at themselves, what more can they get out of themselves, and how can they develop themselves, and what more could they do to push themselves to that next level, rather than always looking for the grass being greener elsewhere.
That's brilliant. Well, that's that. I really enjoyed that, and I hope the listeners have as well. And that is that for the night. And even though I'll be with you on the sideline every week, all the best for the rest of the season.
I hope you begin too.
And I hope we're successful, and I hope we have a good season. But that's that. And tune in again in another few weeks for episode 3.
Thank you very much for inviting me on, and all the best with PSA. It's a great venture, and I wish you every success in all that you do.
Great. Thank you very much.